Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is probably going to be a short video, but I'm just going to throw it together quickly because it's something that's on my mind, something that's been showing up on my feed a lot that I felt like I needed to talk about. In various different social media platforms, I've been seeing a lot of, I guess, what I would call nostalgia baiting. And I'm sure that some of you guys have probably seen this. It's like videos where guys who are usually in their 20s, sometimes early 30s, will be posting content where it's just them playing old video games. Like a lot of the time it's Modern Warfare 2 because that was such a popular game and people relate to that. So I understand why it's so popular. Like I catch myself a lot of the time clicking on videos where I see a thumbnail of someone playing Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer or something like that because it brings me back. It brings me back to when I was a kid, and that's kind of the vibe that they're going for. That's the emotion that they want to invoke in their audience. And there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. I think a lot of us can probably, I think a lot of us, I mean, if you're listening to this, I think that you're probably in the category of people who probably feel similarly. You know, you had a good childhood where you grew up playing video games that everyone was playing at the same time. You'd all come back from school and hop on Modern Warfare 2 or Halo 3 or whatever your game was, Gears of War. And life was simpler back then for us. We were kids and we didn't have responsibilities. We didn't have jobs. We didn't really have to worry about money, saving, investing. We didn't have to worry about relationships as much. So it really was simpler, right? Things were taken care of for us. Our parents took care of us, hopefully. And yeah, we could kind of just focus on doing what we wanted to do, hanging out with friends, playing video games. So I think that's why this nostalgia baiting tactic, I guess you could call it, of some content creators out there these days is so effective. But I just don't think this is a healthy mindset to have. Like I mentioned, the content creators who are making this kind of stuff, they tend to be in their 20s or early 30s, and I would imagine that their audience is kind of similar age range and demographic. Like I fall into that category, and I think that's why it's coming up on my feed a lot. And I definitely understand the temptation to kind of keep binge watching these videos and just diving deeper down this rabbit hole of watching people playing video games, talking about their life, talking about how things used to be so much better, blah, blah, blah. And I just don't think it's productive, right? It's essentially like junk food for your brain. I mean, you could argue that a lot of content on YouTube or any other platform is just junk, right? We shouldn't be scrolling as much as all of us are. At least with me, sometimes I feel like I watch this content where I'm watching someone playing Modern Warfare 2 and I'm thinking back to when I was with the boys every day after school or every weekend. We'd be getting together and doing 360 quickscope lobbies on Rust and playing through the Halo campaigns and staying up late and not having to worry about anything. That's just not the reality anymore. I'm 30 years old. Most of my friends are around the same age, give or take a couple years. And that's just part of growing up. You can't stay up late playing video games every day. You have people that you got to take care of. You have wives or kids or, parents who are getting old. You got a job that you need to go to make money. So, from my perspective, while it's okay to kind of watch some of this nostalgia stuff and like think of the better times, you can't let yourself get too wrapped up in it. You can't fall too far down the rabbit hole. And I see sometimes a lot of these creators, that's kind of like all their content is. If you latch onto some of these creators, you kind of just keep going down and down and down the rabbit hole and you kind of stay in this like comfort zone. But, escapism really needs to be kind of dialed back. That's really what it is. Drugs, alcohol, they're all forms of escapism, and video games can be a form of escapism. And I think that some of this nostalgia baiting content online is a form of escapism for a lot of the audience. And so I think it's just crucial that we keep in mind when we're watching this stuff that we do kind of need to recognize that this isn't how life is anymore. It's just the realities that things change as we get older. And a much more productive thing to be doing is figuring out what it is that we can do with our current life to make it better, right? We can't go back to the days of where we're just sitting around playing video games, hanging out with our friends, doing whatever we want. That's not the reality. So given the constraints of our actual reality, our actual life now that we're in our, mid to late 20s, early 30s, whatever it is, if we're really that unhappy where thinking back to when we were a teenager playing video games all day, that's really like, oh, those are the good old days. Okay, how do we change what we're doing day to day now as adults to make our lives better, make us happier with each day? Because it is hard, right? We've got a lot more responsibilities. We have to be kind of grown up. We have to go to work. A lot of people don't like their jobs. I don't like my job. So we need to be incorporating things like hobbies, skill development. It's almost like a stop and smell the roses type of thing. What is it that we can incorporate in our day-to-day lives that we're not doing right now, where we'll look back on this time years from now and say, oh, these were the good old days, right? You always want to be improving. I think a lot of people have fear of getting older, and I think that probably starts once we leave school and our life is sort of off the rails, I'll call it. You're going to school from basically as early as you can remember, and your life is on tracks, sort of predefined for you, up until the point where you graduate high school or, in a lot of cases, graduating college. And then it's like, okay, now your life is yours. Go figure it out. Do what you want to do. And that's pretty scary for people. That's why I see a lot of people go for further education, even beyond just like a bachelor's degree. They'll stay for master's, they'll go for a PhD. And that's great if that's what you're really passionate about. But I've seen it firsthand with a lot of friends who stay in the education system for longer than they actually plan to, just because they don't want to face the reality, right? They don't want to get a job. They kind of want to just stay in this comfort zone where everything is kind of laid out for them. You go to class, you TA for whatever, this professor, you write your thesis, you do your research, all that kind of stuff. It's a pretty set formula versus going out in the world, getting a job. Yeah, getting a job is usually pretty straightforward, even though it's not easy. It's pretty straightforward. But it's what do you do with your time and money now that you're an adult and you're on your own? And frankly, a lot of people's lives just suck. You go to work, maybe you go to the gym, you take care of chores, you do what you got to do, and then it's like you got an hour or two at the end of the day. Even without kids, I have like maybe an hour to myself a day. And it's like, what do? You play video games or you watch Netflix or something, and you just sort of try and escape the monotony of your day to day. And yeah, video games is a form of escapism for a lot of people, especially a lot of young men. It is for me too. But it's not fulfilling. At least it wasn't for me. And every time I feel like I want to play video games, whether it's with friends or not, I just feel like I feel guilty. I feel guilty indulging in this hobby that I've had my entire life, basically, after I go and work a full day, Monday through Friday. I don't have much time left for myself at the end of the day, and I still feel badly about playing video games. And frankly, it's just not the same as it was before, right? Sitting down for an hour of gaming, I don't know about you guys, but like an hour is just not enough to really get anything done. I mean, I'm on PC now. It's like I can't even dial in my graphic settings and keybinds in an hour. Or I start a campaign. It's like I watch basically the intro cutscene and do the tutorial level, and it's like, okay, time for bed. So what I started doing is you got to just start trying stuff, right? Just anything that I've always wanted to do something. I've always wanted to do this, or I've thought about it in my head a little bit, or even if it's something you've not thought about, right? I'm an engineer. I grew up being a very technical person. I loved math and science in school. I hated art. I hated English. I hated foreign languages. I hated all that crap. And now I am starting a YouTube channel because why not? I love watching YouTube. I love consuming content. And I thought to myself, why don't I change things up a little bit? Why don't I start producing some of this content for a change and just see what it's like? And now I'm diving down the rabbit hole of photography, cinematography, video editing, color grading, all this stuff, right? Even like the voice that I'm recording right now. I'm sitting at my desk with this, like podcast quality microphone that I would, up until this point, every time I used a microphone, I was just using the crappy mic attached to my headset, right? It's like kind of exciting, like just trying things differently for a change. Just try stuff. You never know what you're going to like unless you've tried it. It's the same reason why when we have kids, if you're a good parent and you're financially able to do this, you put them in stuff, you put them in activities, you put them in different sports, you teach them instruments, you take them to clubs, get them involved in different activities. The reason why is partly for the parents' benefit. Maybe they just need a break from the kid once in a while. But really, you're doing it for the kid's benefit because you don't know what they're going to like. Everyone's a different person. And until you've really tried everything, which isn't possible, you're not going to know what you like and what you don't like, and you're not going to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. The life that's been set out for you by your parents and your teachers and whoever else for the last 20, 30 years, however old you are, now is a chance for you guys to start trying new things. Try a new hobby that you've not explored before, or start getting engaged in a community, whether it's in person or online, of people that you normally wouldn't associate with. Just put yourself out there, try new things. You don't have to commit to it for too long. And there's a lot of stuff out there that's either free or very cheap to get started. I mean, even this YouTube thing. I bought a $100 microphone and stand on sale, and I didn't even need that. I could have recorded things with the microphone that came with the headset that I was already using the game on. I just bought a fancy new camera. It still hasn't come in, right? But I could have just used my phone. Well, my phone, the camera is completely cracked and fairly unusable, but I could use the selfie camera, right? Like, you can make things work with what you have. And so there's not really a whole lot of excuses. if there's something you've ever thought about, even if it's just like a blip in your mind, hey, that's kind of cool. I thought to myself, I'd watch like a YouTube video and there'd be like this really nice cinematic intro that was like a minute long, and then it would go into the normal video. And I'm like, wow, that all like the cinematography, the editing, like that must have taken a lot of work, but that's so badass. That's something I'm going to try my hand at once I get this new camera. So just keep trying new things, put yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit, and even if it goes nowhere, this YouTube channel, I'm talking into a mic right now, this is going to go out to the void. I have 0 subscribers, nobody views my content, nobody cares about me, and that's okay. I'm just getting this out of my system, I'm putting myself out there, I'm trying something new, and it's kind of a fun process. It's a lot more fun than I was expecting. So that's it, guys. I'm just here to say, don't let yourself get too wrapped up in the nostalgia. Oh, the good old days of when I was a kid. All the good old days of when, everyone was on Modern Warfare 2 and we could just binge play that over the weekend. Look, I totally get it, but that's just not reality anymore. So let's work together and let's try and figure out how we can improve our lives today, so that way we don't need this sort of comfort food equivalent social media content. All right, that's it for me. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it this far, I don't even know what I'm doing with this YouTube channel, really. I'm probably going to just keep it a lot of just things that pop up on my mind and recording, just hitting record, give my opinions on stuff, kind of like a general commentary. And if you're interested in that, why don't you hit subscribe? If there's something I can improve on, drop a comment down below. I'm just starting out, so it's a little bit hard. Sometimes I got blinders on, a little bit hard to see what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. So any feedback is appreciated. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.